Hello, my name is Monroe Anton. You are now part of my family. With your help, we can all ascend our cosmic energy and be healed.
Hello everyone, welcome back to a brand new review video of Telplay. This is Armea and we're gonna talk about the Chant. First things first, before we talk about the review, let's talk about the basic story of the Chant. What exactly is the Chant? The story happened on the remote island where a group of people meet up in this island to have the retreat, and you play as a female protagonist named Jessica, who has received a letter from her friend to join in the retreat. Now that we sum up the basic story of the Chant, let's go to the gameplay of the game. I will start with the pros and then I'm gonna say about the cons when it comes to the gameplay of the game, as I prefer to say more first the positive ones than the negative ones. I'm gonna be honest, I did really like the gameplay, especially the combat itself. You kinda really feel vulnerable at all times, especially with the scarcity of the whole resources that you can get throughout the island. And you really feel like you really need to save up these resources that you've gathered because you might never know when you're gonna need it. And not only that, I think the most fun in the combat itself is how you dodge the enemy. It's just, for me, it's very interesting and very unique in its way. Why do I say this? Is because when you dodge the enemy, it actually depends of how many times you press the spacebar. So basically, when you press the spacebar once, it only has this like normal animation for dodging. But if you press the spacebar twice, it gives you this really cool animation when you dodge and your character just try to crawl away from the enemy. And I think it's a really good aspect when it comes to combat, which we don't usually see in other games. And not only that makes it interesting when it comes to combat is the fighting itself. It feels like some sort of Souls-like, or you can call it like Dark Souls style of vibe of the combat, but it's not too hard, but it's just right, if you know what I mean. But the only downside of that is that you don't really get reward for every enemy that you killed except the mini boss or something for the puzzle. So when it comes to normal enemies, you kind of need just to dodge it because you really don't get any rewards for killing them. Another thing that I truly like in the combat is that when you're fighting the enemy, you really feel like you are on edge because when they damage you a lot and you can easily die. But at the same time, it's not really hard to dodge them. You can just simply run away while you're pressing spacebar to dodge away from the enemy. It's not really too hard, but they really did a great job making you feel so thrilled, and especially when the enemy is chasing after you. At first, the combat can be really difficult, but as time goes by, you will get the hang of it, how the combat works in the game, and you will notice that they are not really too hard to defeat. Especially when you progress in the story, you will get these different kinds of weapon or sage that you use to fight them, and as well some skills that you will get as you progress in the story. And one thing that I do want to mention when it comes to crafting in this game is that the crafting here, it's not really complicated. You basically just open your tab, open the inventory and craft, click, and that's it. As long as you have the resources that it needs to craft that weapon or that sage, then you're good to go. When it comes to your abilities, you cannot really upgrade them, but you can actually upgrade the perk for your character, such as adding more inventory so you can gather more resources to replenish your health, replenish your spiritual energy, or making you less vulnerable to the attacks of enemies. There's really no leveling system in this game, so what you have to do to actually upgrade your perk is to actually find this item. Sometimes you can easily see it in front of you, or sometimes you really need to search the entire place for you to get it. In my playthrough, I managed to actually upgrade the whole perk for my character, which is actually a good thing because, oh boy, at the last boss, I can tell you it was so hard. I died many times on that one, which I didn't expect in a game like this. So in a way, it really pushes you to explore the entire island, especially on that particular area, because some are really hidden and you cannot really see it if you don't search enough. And this is one of the reasons why I enjoy this game a lot. I really enjoy when the game pushes you to explore the world and you have these items that is hidden and you really need to search for it just for you to, it just feels rewarding when you find it, because not only you upgrade your character but you also get some achievement for it. Now let's talk about the puzzle in the game. To be honest, the puzzle doesn't really interest me enough, because for me the puzzle is too simple. It's not like in Resident Evil where the puzzle is makes you think long hard enough what it's used for or what you're gonna do with it. But overall the puzzle is okay. It's enough to entertain you in any way. But in my opinion, I think they can try to do more when it comes to the puzzle thing. And on the side note, why did I compare it to Resident Evil? It's because it has this vibe of Resident Evil. Even on the puzzle thing, I can see that they're kind of inspired in some way, especially with keys for that door. They have this some sort of pattern, just like what they did in Resident Evil. I mean, this is not a bad thing. Actually, it's a really good thing. Because of this, it gives you this nostalgia, but at the same time, it's not unique enough for you to actually be entertained with the whole puzzle that they actually implement in the game. Now, let us go when it comes to the decision making in the game. Honestly, I didn't like it. For me, it's really confusing because, first of all, when you're talking to someone in the game and then they put you this decision, they only give you like persuade or answer logical, answer emotionally. It just doesn't really help you to decide what's really a good thing. So basically, it's just like picking blindly. And not only that, you also have a timer where you cannot see, plus the fact that it's so hard to understand what will be your response for the character when you only been given like a very short answer like persuade or answer emotionally or logically. It's just really confusing. I think what they did with the decision part is really bad. They could have done it better, to be honest. Like, add more text to the answer for your character in such a way that we don't get confused. And because of this confusion, you don't really know if you actually answer right. You don't want to get the bad ending. And to be honest, I don't really know if it really affects the story, since after I finished the game, I didn't really bother to play again and check it out if actually it affects the story, because to be honest, I don't really remember some of the parts, what kind of decision that I choose for that specific moment. So that's it for the gameplay. So now let us go to the story. When it comes to the story, there is really not much to say, as the story itself is very simple. There is really no mind-blowing moments when I'm playing the game, and also the character, to be honest, it feels really plain. It's hard for me to get attached except to the one character there, which is Hannah, which is kind of disappointing because it happens so quickly and you really don't have time to know the characters even better. You don't even feel sympathy for them, what they are going through, because everything just happens so fast, and I feel like the whole background of every character is not really fleshed out, which is really sad for a game like this that is more focused on the story. And to be honest, I feel like the story is not really that great compared to the combat itself. If I will compare the story and the combat, I feel like the most strongest point for this game is the combat, not the story. Don't get me wrong, the game is fun and the story is enough to actually hook you up to actually finish the story, but at the same time, it just doesn't give you this sympathy for the character. It doesn't give you any feeling of wowness to it. Like, oh, this happened in this island. For me, it's just a really simple story that, oh, that happened. Oh, okay, then I can move on. Something like that. There is also one thing that I do want to mention when it comes to bugs and glitches in the game. So far, I only encountered 2 bugs, which is the eye of the protagonist itself has this really weird color in her eyes and some textures that didn't render well when it comes to the buildings in some of the areas. But there's really nothing too major that is really gonna affect your game. Mostly it's just visual. And you can easily fix this just by restarting your game. But overall, I didn't really have that much of a problem when it comes to this because I can easily move on with it. You don't really see it only at the prologue and the first half of the game. So that's all I can say when it comes to the visual and glitches that I've encountered in the game. Now let us move on to the visual of the game itself and as well the animation. So let's start first when it comes to the visual of the game. For me personally, I really like the visual in the game, the whole atmosphere, the vibe, how dark it is, and as you progress in the story, it becomes even more darker. I do like that aspect in the game. And when it comes to the animation part, as I mentioned earlier, I did like what they did when it comes to the dodging animation. They really did well on that part. Because of that, you really felt vulnerable when you're fighting the enemies. And not only the dodge itself, but also when you are crawling through spaces, when you are climbing over the window. It's just so nice how your character runs. And when Jessica is in panic mode, you will really see that emotion in her, that she is terrified, that she is running away from something. Overall, they really did a good job with the cutscene, plus the one that I mentioned earlier, from animation part to the visual. There is one thing that I do want to mention when it comes to the prologue. Probably some of you who have played the game or may play the game, you will notice in prologue there will be wonky animation here and there. Well, I'm not sure why, but the moment I get into the first half of the game, I noticed that the animation become much more fleshed out compared to the prologue. Probably once you start playing the game, probably you will get what I mean. So that's all I can say when it comes to the visual and animation. Now let us go to the sounds. When it comes to the sound of the game, I don't have any complaints because the voice actor in the game are all good. They really did their part. You really feel the emotion every time there is a cutscene, the way they talk. Everything is just so good, even with the background music. And I remember when I first saw the trailer of the Chant, I said to myself, I'm not gonna get scared of this because of how they show the combat in the trailer, and it doesn't really give me this vibe of I will get scared. But the moment I start the game and the portal was open, it has this background that is really terrifying, that makes me squeal because how scary it is, and I just didn't expect it that it's gonna be like that. So overall, with the sound effect, background music, voice actors, I can tell you that they really did a great job. Everything was on point, emotion was there. There is not much to say, but everything is good. Now let's go to the technical part of the game. This is where the game falls down. So basically, when I first started the game, it hits me with this FPS drop. And I'm pretty sure a lot of people from Steam who reviewed the game, there is a lot of negative reviews, they don't recommend the game, is because of this. They have this FPS drop, especially at prologue. It seems like it's really not fleshed out. I have more FPS drop on that part. But as you went to the first half, throughout the story, you don't really feel that much that FPS drop. But one thing that I noticed, that once this happened, some people actually just put down the game, didn't continue the game anymore, and they just leave this negative review because of this. I fully understand these people who give bad reviews to the game, because me personally, I did have the same problem. Like, my PC can handle fully well this game. It should be at max. I have RTX 3070. I have to put down the graphics settings to high, and even then, I'm still having these FPS drops. And I don't really know, do I have to lower the graphics settings just for it to run? It just makes no sense. I hope the developer will manage to fix this ASAP, because that's the reason why there is a lot of people who is actually giving this game a bad review because of this main issue in the game. Now let us go to my final verdict. So is the Chant worth £35 or $40? My answer is no. I would say to wait for a sale or wait for the developer to fix these issues in the game. Not to mention that this game is only 8 hours story long, so you don't really get much of it, especially there is no replayability in the game. Once you finish the story, it's done. But overall, I can tell you that I did enjoy the game despite the fact that I have some issues, FPS drops, glitches here and there. And to be honest, the game is fun, the combat is fun. I don't really have any problem regarding about that. The story itself is okay. The exploration part, I'm really hooked at it. I really enjoyed checking every nooks and cranny in the game. And I'm gonna tell you right now, the game is really fun and it's not really that bad. The developer of this game is Brass Token, and it's actually their first game. And for their first game, it's actually good, despite of all the issues that this game is having. So the rate of this game is 7.5 out of 10. So that's all for now for me for this review video. video of the chant. This is Armea from Telplay, and if this video has helped you, make sure to give this a thumbs up. And if you are new to the channel, make sure to subscribe and turn on the post notification bell so you don't miss anything every time we upload something new. Also, I want to mention that we are having giveaways specifically for Discord members only, so don't forget to join in our Discord channel. We're always having giveaway every month, so make sure to not miss that out. Or simply you just want to hang out, we have some amazing cool friends in Discord who would be happy to have you in our small community. So thank you so much and have a great day. See you again on our next video. Bye!